Welcome to Costly Conversations. I'm super excited because we have the one and only Mychael Waller Sr. with us, the survivor of not just one, but two self-defense shootings. But even more than that, even more than the self-defense situations, he was in, well, he owns his own range and gun store, and I think that's really cool. Just as a young man myself, getting into things like that. But before we get into everything, I do just want to remind you guys one more time that our friend Scout Armando Cruz, I mentioned him in the last show. He was recently in a motorcycle accident, and he definitely needs your assistance because his leg's broken. He's a father, a provider in his home, and he definitely needs assistance. So if you want to take a look at the link, there should be a link in this bio and also a link in the live comment section. Take a look at that. See if you can do anything. If you have it, awesome. But enough about that right now. Now, onto the show. My man, Mychael Waller Sr. What's up, dude?
What's up?
My guy. Thank you so much for making time. I know you said you're kind of in the middle of a lot of things, traveling and whatnot, but I appreciate you making a little bit of time on your Sunday to spend some time with us. It means a lot.
Oh, no problem, man. I appreciate you having me, bro.
Absolutely. Now, one thing that I did just want to, just bring up immediately is you were recently in self defense situation. Last time I'd seen you, actually, we were at the USCCA event, and I was like, man, I feel like I haven't seen this man in a minute. Where's he at? And it turns out that you kind of gone low key, gone a little low
Hmm.
profile. What was that about? Like what happened that sent you off the internet for a little bit?
Well, as everyone who's been following me since I pretty much started my journey in 2018, I was involved in a self defense shooting in 2019, right after leaving Kevin Dixie's No Other Choice train learn industry event. And 2000, which was last year, April 30th, I ended up getting into another self-defense shooting at 3 in the morning at the Ryan's Pub in Frankfort, Illinois. Immediately after that, I have had USCCA insurance, and I kind of this shooting was different only because of the simple fact that I had insurance this time, and I had to follow, you know, what my attorney and what USCCA was, advised. So I had to follow, their instructions. That's kind of protocol with USCCA. And if you're involved in a self-defense shooting, which I advise you to listen to your attorney. So if your attorney tells you, you know, to not be on social media. Big shout out to Dave McDermott, not your typical attorney. Follow him on Instagram. But yeah, he advised me to, get off social media, go black for a little bit, and I did just that. So that was my, reason for, not being on social media while I was, involved in another self-defense shooting, and I had to listen to USCCA and my attorneys.
Yeah,
They
I mean,
advised me.
if you want to win, you better listen to the guys who believe that they are your best help. So
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
you've been paying them with the understanding that if something happens, they're going to get you taken care of. Provided that you didn't murder the guy. Um, so that said, my audience member House of Siege said, I can't wait to hear how his insurance guided him through the process. So if you wouldn't mind, like take us through that process. So, well, first of all, to the best of your ability, can you take us through what happened that night? Kind of, you said it was 2 a.m. Nothing good ever happens at past midnight. Cliche. I'm not going to victim blame here because clearly
Sure.
you're allowed to be where you want to be. But
Sure.
it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Something happens. What happens?
Yeah, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I'll just walk you through the whole story. Around 12 o'clock, I was leaving from downtown Chicago. I was leaving with a good friend, Ryan Henry. Left his tattoo shop, drove back home. Trying to kind of escape the city because a lot of violence and things like that happen. It's happening in the inner city. So I shoot back home out towards Moni, Frankfurt area. Stopped at the Ryan's Pub because I had a good friend, Alex, who works for Key Firearms. He was there at the Ryan's Pub, and I ended up just stopping by for a little bit, just hang out with him. When I walked in, we talked for a little bit. I was gonna stay for an hour. An hour turned into closing time. He's a gun guy like myself, so you know how those conversations can go, and it just stayed until about 3. They closed at 3 that Saturday. Stayed until 3 o'clock. About at closing time, that's where the two masked gunmen actually came inside the bar. Moment they walked in, they asked, can they have a drink, and the bartender, was a male and a female bartender, both of them, told the two men, with a mask on, they told them like, hey, we're not serving any more alcohol. We called last call about 40 minutes ago. They seemed to get a little agitated. They said, hey, we came from far away, and at this time they are talking with a mask on and all black covering. They were like, hey, we came from a long way. You sure we just can't get a drink? And at that, when I came in there, I wasn't drinking at all. I don't. If I'm carrying, I don't actually drink alcohol at all, which I would, recommend people, if you're going to be, around alcohol and you are carrying a firearm, try not to, drink. I would definitely. That's just being a responsible gun owner. So I would recommend, you not drink when when you have a firearm. So
Mm-hmm.
I was. I didn't drink. My buddy, he actually bought me 2 drinks. I didn't drink, so I ended up offering it to the guys that came in the door because I can sense something was like not right. Like they were
Yeah.
just, it was pretty sketchy. So I was like, look, man, just, I'm filling out the scene. They're looking around back and forth. The mask over the face is still COVID.
So
So
we're talking like just COVID mask or like ski mask?
no, these are like, it's a ski mask. The mask that just
Yeah.
has the eye open.
Yeah.
You can, it's a traditional ski mask, but the new mask that a lot of the young kids are wearing, it's kind of it is a ski mask.
Yeah, and it's weird because I don't really keep up with the hip hop culture or whatever you want to call it, but it seems like a lot of folks are kind of getting into that where it's like trendy or cool to wear it, not just in like a photo dressing up like a goon or something like that, a little
Yeah,
cosplay, but in like real life, like hanging out in their neighborhoods, masked up, and it's like whoa, like this speaks to me in a way that I'm not comfortable with. Maybe I'm just
right.
old, but it sounds like that would be an instant red flag. You see somebody wearing a mask and you're like, okay, I'm primed to get robbed. I'm primed to get killed or something. Is that the kind of
Yeah.
red flag that it signaled for you, or are you kind of accustomed to this?
Well, being from Chicago, that the hip hop culture here is very big, and that is the ski mask thing is it's a trend. Like you hit it right on the head. It's a trend. These kids are wearing these ski masks every single day just to look shisty. It's just a trend. It's a fashion thing now. So in this case, when I noticed these two young men who came in and they had this mask on, to everyone it was a little, it was we can definitely sense something was wrong. But because of COVID, a lot of young people and just people in general, they wore these masks. Um, but these guys look like they're younger than me. I'm 28 years old. These guys look like they're 20. If my age or a little bit younger. And COVID is not. I understand it's definitely real, but typically a lot of the younger generation people don't really follow that as much. But so when I saw them coming with the mask, I definitely sensed something was wrong immediately, because definitely they were covered in all black clothing. They had hoods over their head. I can definitely sense something was about to go south really fast. And after being involved in a self defense shooting, prior to this, I kind of, one of my good mentors, he told me, he was like, typically if you're involved in a self-defense shooting or a shooting or any type of incident like that, and you survive, a lot of times you have you're not like superhuman or something, but a lot of times you have like, you're different and you see things differently than the average person. So when they came in, I can definitely sense something was not right, and so did the bartenders too, and everyone else that was inside. At that time, there was 4 people inside the bar, and there was 2 people on the porch. So, and the owner actually lived upstairs, so that's a total of 7 people inside the bar at that time. And when they realized they couldn't get any drinks, and which I didn't feel like they were there for the drinks anyways. Obviously, we know now, but things went south really fast. They asked to use the bathroom. The bartender, he actually stopped talking to him. His name's Mike. The bathroom was right behind me, so I told both of the guys, yeah, you guys can use the bathroom. The guy started walking around the counter, and I noticed that he had latex gloves on. When I noticed he had latex gloves on, I sensed something was definitely wrong. I had a gun, M&P Shield, a Penix carry, and a spare magazine and a light in my pocket. Ended up unholstering my gun, had a light like a low ready around the bar. As the guy, he slowly was coming around the bar with his friend. He was like, "Hey man, I just want to use the bathroom. I just want to use the bathroom." And again, I realized that the bathroom's right behind me, so I concealed my firearm back up really really fast, just so he can walk by me. And the moment I concealed my gun and he came all the way around the bar, they both pulled out guns.
Okay, so you basically saw it coming. They
Yeah.
pulled out guns. You had your gun ready. What happened
Mhm.
next?
After they pulled their guns out, I had my gun concealed at that time. I'm still around. There's two bad guys. The other guy jumped across the bar. The bar is like a big U. He jumped across the bar. When he jumped across the bar, he's going through the cash register. They both have guns still pointed at everybody, but he's mainly focused on the cash. The other masked armed gunman, he has the gun pointed at me and my friend. Everyone just waving a gun in front of all of our faces, and he's threatening everybody, saying, "Hey, guys, keep your heads down. Da da da. Don't say nothing. Try to keep calm." He kept looking at the back door because I felt like they kind of scoped the area out before they even came in, because there was actually three people involved. Now there was a getaway driver that was in the car who we believe came inside the bar just minutes before they actually walked in at closing time. But as he has the gun pointed at all of us, telling us to keep quiet, don't move, I'll kill you guys. He's threatening everybody with his gun. His other friend is turning around, back and forth, watching everybody. Still has a gun in his hand, threatening people too. At this point, we all are kind of like, we're in fear for our life, because we have guns pointed at us. It's pretty dark, so it's kind of hard to see. I still have my gun and Penix carry. He's asking everybody, go through your pockets, empty all your belongings. Everybody's going through. We're emptying all our belongings, putting our wallets and stuff like that on the bar. They're taking everything, and you can. They're asking for more money. His friends going through the cash register. You can hear them, both of the guys going back and forth, yelling at each other, saying, "Hey man, get all the money, get all the money." It's just a stick up. Like, it's an armed robbery at this point. And
Right.
me and my boy Alex, we're both gun guys. He wasn't actually carrying at this time. I was the only one. Well, I was not the only one. I was carrying, in the bartender, the female bartender. She was carrying her firearm at the time too as well, but her gun was in her purse. Um,
Ooh.
the gunman, crazy. The gunman actually asked me. He was like, "Hey man, go back there and get that purse," and he was pointing at me with his gun. So I went back and got a purse. I didn't know she had a gun in her purse. That was like my first time ever being at this bar.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know her like that. The only person I actually knew was my friend Alex. So I went and grabbed her purse, just doing, trying to comply. And I recommend, if you're in a situation like that, try not, don't be try to pull a Rambo or anything like that, John Wick. Just comply if you can, and just get them what they're asking for. I don't believe any personal belongings, wallets, anything like that. Jury is worth anyone's life, even a bad guy. So I give him the purse. He dumps the lady's purse on the ground. She had a firearm in her purse. She actually took the gun, so he had another firearm actually, with him, and he's stuffing all the belongings and things like that inside of his jacket. And he told the bartender, "Hey, go in the back and get more money," because he just felt like he wanted more money. He was like, there's more money. Go in the back and go get more money." And Mike responded like, "Hey man, there isn't any more money. We did our last drop off. That's it." And they started getting really frustrated at that point. It
Incredible.
was.
Yeah. No, that's some scary stuff. And people, let's be real. Like, tough guy stuff aside, no one really knows how they'll react until they're in a situation where their lizard brain kicks in and they realize, like, dang, I could die if this just goes a little bit wrong. Someone gets a little bit agitated and decides to, or someone gets a little scared and their finger slips. That's it.
Mhm.
Like, fear for your life. It's fear for everybody's life at that point. Um,
Yeah.
and somebody asked a question. Maybe you already said it, and I just missed it. But did you immediately change your seating position when they entered wearing mask, or like what was your response, or did you just kind of like What did you do? If you could just remind me.
Well, when they walked in, typically like any restaurant or any public place I go into, I'm always facing the door. I never have my
Okay.
back towards the door. And most of us, we're all gun guys, and we kind of know these things, and we do these
Yeah.
things naturally. Our wives, our girlfriends, everybody know. That's
Yeah.
just how kind of. And I was already facing the door. That's just how I am. So when he walked in, I was in the perfect position, to react. But when they split up, I had two mass armed gunmen in two different locations with good. I had two good people over here, and then myself and my friend Alex over here. So I felt like I can get a shot on them. I'm thinking like, hey, these guys got guns. I'm in fear for my life. I'm in fear for these other people's lives as well. I know I can get this guy here, but trying to transition and shoot this guy on the other side of the bar that's going through the cash register, but he's in between two innocent, patrons. Like it's just, it's dangerous, and I didn't want to.
Impossible odds. Yeah.
Yeah, so I at that moment I was hoping that they would just leave, but I was waiting also if I had to do something. I was also waiting on the right opportunity to utilize, deadly force if need be.
Yeah. That's crazy. Um, and I'm I'm just processing everything. I'm kind of at a loss for words just because I'm imagining myself in that situation, and I'm stressed out just thinking about it. I'm like, dang, like you don't know what's gonna happen next. Maybe, just maybe, if you just play it cool, maybe they'll just take the money and go. But at some point, things got to a point where you felt comfortable taking a shot.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
So there's a few things too that I thought about and made me, react or for kind of say I wouldn't say force me to react, but I would say just push that button for me. There was a woman in there, and that woman started screaming for her life. I grew up around six sisters, people who know me, who have read my stories before in the past on USCCA magazines and everything. They know I speak about it. I grew up around six sisters. I love all of them dearly, and I'm a protector just naturally as a man, and when I noticed this guy, he's pointing his gun at this woman, and she starts to scream for her kids, and she's begging for her life. That hit a switch for me, and when that switch came on, that's when I realized I had to make a decision. And the mass, armed gunmen, they had all of us, at a particular time, they brought all of us together close towards the end. They were like, hey, you guys all get on the ground. He's frustrated that he's not getting the money that he feel like he wants. He tells everybody, get over here and get on the ground face first. Here in Illinois, there was a really famous shooting that happened. I say famous shooting, but unfortunately, it was at the Lane Bryans. I believe it was in Tinley Park, and it was nine, all women, actually killed. One of them was a good friend. It was my best friend's auntie who was actually killed in that situation. That man had all the women go to the back, laying all, put them all in a circle, face first, and killed all of them. So here at home, when we hear things like that, that's what we all thought about. We're thinking that these guys are about to, just kill everybody, just execution style. And the moment he told everybody to get on their knees, I just made a decision. We all came together. I had at this point too. I had both of the mass gunmen in one location. So I figured if there was going to be a chance to shoot, my best chance would possibly be right now because we're all together. Everybody else is on the ground. I'm getting on the ground, but I'm not going to get all the way face first on the ground. I'm going to make a move. But when I realized that everybody would be on the ground, the chance of that bad guy or those bad guys actually hitting us would be slimmer at that particular, in that moment. So the moment everybody got face first on the ground, um, I lift up. As I lift up, both of the guys are actually by the door, as if they were making an exit. So I duck my head back down. And when I ducked my head back down, I saw the guy. I could still see him as I lift up. I ducked my head back down. He said, he yelled at me. He turned towards me, still has his gun out. He's like, I told you, get on the ground. He's cursing at me. He's like, I told you, get on the ground. That's when I lift back up really, really fast. And I pointed my gun at him and I fired. I had 8+1. So I had 9 rounds total, 8 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. I fired all 9 rounds, hitting that first suspect, the masked gunman. They're all center mass shots, 1 in the head, hitting him several times. He fell to the ground, and I hit his the other masked gunman who was in front of him in his upper body and his chest. He fell down the stairs, where he dropped his gun and got away in the getaway car.
Incredible. So that was a lot. And I see there's some people in the audience asking questions. Jay the Shooter, prolific YouTuber, friend of the show, is asking, do you feel like the screaming was a good distraction to kind of help you position? It sounds like the screaming had stopped, or was she still kind of causing a bit of commotion with her being in shock?
Well, that's a really good question. I never really thought about it like that. I don't. In that moment, I don't really feel. I felt like they were kind of, because they kept telling her like, "Hey, calm down, calm down, calm down. Just get on the ground, get on the ground, get on the ground." And she is, at that particular time, there's no calming her down. She's
No,
losing
she's,
it.
yeah.
And I'm I'm kind of like, a little bit like, freaking out, but I'm like, I have to stay calm. And I knew I had to react. At that particular moment, I had to react, and it could have helped. I think that's a really good question, but
I
it
mean,
may be.
it's adding another variable, so who
Yeah,
knows?
maybe so, maybe
But at
so.
the end of the day, you survived. The people that you are with survived. So in defense of a third party, when it comes to use of force,
Mhm.
gunman number one, not the second guy did survive. Am I correct?
Yes, they caught both of those guys maybe about 8 weeks ago.
Okay.
They caught them about 8 weeks ago. The getaway driver and the guy shot. The guy shot immediately, went to the hospital right after that shooting. He went to there was a hospital maybe about 15 minutes away in Chicago. He went to. And he did survive. The first guy, I shot him several times, I believe several, mostly body shots, and he caught one to the head going to the ground.
Hmm.
So, he,
And so he did get shot in the head.
yeah.
Now I'm not sure what the laws are in Chicago. Are you able to carry self defense ammunition?
Yes, I did. And you are able to carry self-defense ammunition here. I had a SIG Elite Performance round. I think it was like 147 grain.
Okay. And
There, too. I loaded them in that gun that night. That was crazy. Some brand
no,
new ammunition.
it's crazy that the opportunity presented itself and you were able to take it. And as you took the opportunity, it kind of worked out in your favor because you didn't get shot from what I've read.
No.
That it, and so I was out of training and they said sometimes your best cover is what did they say? It's some acronym, but basically ballistic cover, as in as many shots as you can on target immediately, and that's somewhat of a shield in the sense that no one's going to want to shoot back if they literally getting
Yeah.
hit by 1,000 bullets. Um,
I will speak on
Now,
that.
go
Can
ahead.
I really quick? Because in
Yeah,
both
yeah.
situations, um, I fired. I emptied both of my magazines in my gun. I do believe, like, I love, like, I'm a huge person. Like, I'm big on accuracy. Only hits count. I train for that. I want to be. I recommend. I tell people, if you're training, train for accuracy, definitely. But it's really not that hard to hit a man-sized target within 0 to 15 feet. It's pretty. It's not. It's not. It doesn't take a lot of skill. So what I've noticed in both situations, that you laying down as much firepower as possible, as fast as you can, as most accurate and as fast as you can. If you can lay as much firepower down as possible really fast on that actual bag or that target, it's benefiting me in every single situation. So I'm a huge, I advocate for that, man. Like, if you have to, Lord forbid, you let them have it, man. Let them have it. Don't, like, if that bad guy, if he's coming at you, put as many rounds as you possibly can in him until he stops, until there's no more threat.
Right.
I wouldn't recommend on the ground, of course, but it's lay down as much firepower, as accurate and as fast as you can on that target, as fast as you can, because
Yeah.
nobody wants to get shot. So I don't care what nobody tells you. Any bad guy, Nobody wants to get shot.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you put 9 shots on target. You had 8+1 in your bodyguard. Do you wish you had a bigger gun?
I had an MP shield. It wasn't a
Yeah.
bodyguard. It was a nine
Sorry, not a
millimeter.
bodyguard shield. Do you wish you
Yeah.
had something with a little bit more capacity, like something with like
Yes.
15 rounds or something like that?
Yes.
Would that have helped you sleep a little better?
So yeah, so I carry now the MMP shield is my backup gun from where I'm when it's for where I'm carrying a gun where I'm not really supposed to be carrying a gun.
Hmm.
I like to have that gun because it's really thin, it's single stack, it's 9 millimeter. I always carry spare magazine. I know I have 9 rounds, eight in the magazine, one in the chamber, a spare mag that holds eight too. So after that shooting, after I fired all 9 rounds, I actually reloaded. I dropped the magazine, inserted another magazine, racked my slide, and actually went back outside
This
and
guy over
seen.
here with the reload drills. I see you.
Yeah, man. Like, and the thing is, I didn't even know. Like, I just did it. Like, I just did it. Like,
How do
I
you how do
felt.
you carry your spare mag?
I just had this one in my pocket because this was my
It's just sitting in
backup
the
gun.
pocket. Okay.
Yeah, my full size gun. I always carry a full size gun. I had an M&P Performance Center full size with a Hollow Sun 509T Surefire light, and I had a Chaos Concealment holster, and I had that gun, and I had my MP Shield in my Chaos Concealment holster that I carry Appendix as well, but it's a backup gun. I normally my full size is 18 rounds, 18 plus one, so I got
Yeah.
19 rounds, and it's so I'm that capacity guy. I like to have plenty of rounds. And if I know I'm carrying a gun that has a limited capacity, I always carry a spare magazine. But to answer your question, definitely, if I could add 20 rounds or 30 rounds, I want them because I'll be ready to fire them because I want to,
Right.
yeah.
Now, really
It's like
quickly, we're actually gonna pause the stream to just really quickly. Okay. Really quickly, remind everybody to go ahead and like the stream. It helps out. And if you're not a subscriber, you've got to subscribe. It's the only way we're going to get this show to a point where it's really self sustaining. So thank you so much for everybody who's in the comment section right now. I see you, House of Siege, Jay, and a few others here. We definitely appreciate you. Like the stream, and of course, subscribe. And if I can ask for one more thing, share the stream out because we want to get a few more people in here so they can hear Michael's story. I think it's very important that people understand the realities of self defense shootings, the good and the ugly. And let's go ahead and pull one more question, and then we're going to get right back and make sure that you can answer. So, House of Siege, she said, can he tell us a little bit about his background, military or just a civilian? Are you a cop? Are you a cop, Mike?
no police, no military. Immediately after high school, I got involved in the gun industry. I've been in the gun industry since I was 18 years old. I'm
So the
28 years.
industry, or just kind of like the 2A space?
Oh, I was like, I kind of dived like right into the gun industry. I shot show. The first time me going there, I was 19 years old. I worked for a gun company called Civilian Force Arms. Immediately after high school, I went to college. I had my son, and I had to be able to provide for him. And I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to work for myself. My mother was an entrepreneur. That's kind of something I've always, wanted to do. So right after high school, I went to gunsmithing school, and I realized couldn't. I had my son, and I didn't want to leave for the military because I wanted to stay with my boys. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna, get into gunsmithing. It was something I was very passionate about, besides basketball, because I was a huge athlete growing up. I love basketball, football, but my second best thing that I fell in love with was firearms, and I love building guns. Like selling guns is, I'm not really a salesman. It's not really my thing, but building guns, I'm really passionate about that. I'm a gunsmith too. That's what I did first. So being an armor, I worked for Civilian Force Arms for about 5.5 years
Wow.
until 2000, until when they actually shut down. They actually shut down in 2018, and they were the first African American AR-15 manufacturing company in the United States. And I was
Ever.
their first employee, yeah, first one. We did SHOT Show. I traveled all over. Was going on these big gun events and doing these things at a very very young age. And in 2019, I was 23 years old. I got my federal firearms license, and I became the first African American under the age of 25 to be a firearms dealer in the state of Illinois, and I was the youngest in the country at that time. Hopefully that's changed now because I want more of my young brothers to get involved in the industry, and I want them to definitely you know beat that because I don't want to be the youngest gun dealer anymore. I'm 28 years old. I'm an old man now. I'm getting older. So I want those, those 22, 23-year-old, 21-year-olds to be firearms dealers. And shout out to Jay the Shooter too, man. I know he helps with that. So if any of you guys, want to get involved in the gun industry, want to be firearms dealers, contact him. Reach out to me too. I can help you. But I know Jay that I believe he specifically actually, stuff. So you guys,
Yeah, Jay's Jay is great with his FFL Elite. He can get you on game and teach you how to do a whole lot. And the program isn't that expensive for the money you can make in the industry if you want to go down that path, or even just for yourself. You can. I think it's definitely worth it. He might be undercharging for real, but he probably only charges what he charges because he wants to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to get in and to do a great job. So, shout out to you, Jay, if you're still in here. Um, Drop I don't know if you can. I would say drop a link to your thing, um, but I'm not sure if you can do that. Maybe I'll go in the description and add that in so people can get an opportunity to see what it looks like to get your own FFL and things like that. But back to you, Mychael. Thank you for sharing what you shared so far. So you went in with your little 9-shot gun. Were you supposed to be carrying in a bar, or is that an issue in Chicago
so
area?
here we go. These are the questions here. So no. So you're not supposed to carry inside of a bar, but it depends on whether that bar. Well, I say no. It's not necessarily true. If the establishment sells more food than they do alcohol, it's legal for you to carry inside of a bar. But if they serve less food and serve more alcohol, which is like 51% or more, you cannot actually carry inside that bar. So this was a pub, so they serve food and alcohol. And they go, it's based off of the sales at the total number of sales at the end of the year. 51% greater if it's food, you can carry. If it's 51% or more alcohol, you can't carry. So that's kind of how that goes. And in this establishment, I believe they did serve more food than they did alcohol. But I could be wrong because I know they've been known for being a bar, and that was a concern of mine too. So immediately after the shooting, I started taking pictures of like the front door and things like that because I didn't see the sign that says no gun. You couldn't carry. Excuse me. I didn't see the sign that said you couldn't carry inside of here when I walked in. So I was like, it's completely fine. It's legal. I'm licensed to carry. It shouldn't be an issue. That was that was a concern of mine. So when law enforcement actually arrived on the scene, I cleared my gun after we after the shooting. I put it on the bar, put all my other belongings, the spare magazine, and Will County Police Sheriff's Department. Huge shout out to them, man. They actually handled it very well. I was never even handcuffed. They did detain me, and they detained everyone else that was inside the bar by putting us back in the back of a police car and took us down to the station for questioning. But the moment I got there, USCCA, I gave a good friend of mine, Mike Bauer, huge shout out to him. He's connected with USCCA for sure. He's an employee of them, Delta Defense. So shout out to Mike Bauer and USCCA. I immediately contacted them. There's a number on the back of the car. They ended up calling that number and also calling Mike, directly. And they, got on it like super fast. USCCA was wonderful. And the only person I had that time because I actually had to go, I was in the back of the squad car. So my mother, who was out of town at the time, was making those phone calls for me. And my mom, getting that phone call, no matter how old your child is, we're always still gonna be their babies. That's just kind of how I am. I got 3 little ones, and they're always gonna be my babies, no matter how old they get. So getting that phone call that your son's involved in now another shooting where it's a man, people who are dead, and getting that phone call in USCCA, and my mom, she's like, man, USCCA feel really really comfortable. It was such a great feeling, and they stepped in, and the critical response team, they assisted her through the whole process, and it was easy. It was great. So having USCCA and that insurance is amazing. I definitely feel like it's worth it for sure.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. The Just having USCCA and them actually taking care of things, guys. This is not a commercial for USCCA, I swear. But
I,
it's just a testament that there are certain things that you should do as a firearms owner to ensure that you are kind of dotting your I's and crossing your T's, making sure you're not
mm-hmm,
leaving yourself out to dry.
mm-hmm.
One thing that I do have a lot of questions about is after the fact. Were you here in Texas, you got to go before the grand jury, and they're going to
Mm-hmm.
decide whether or not they want to indict you. Did that even happen? Did the attorney want to press charges, or what happened at that point? Was it cut and dry?
Well, district, you got DA, it's the district attorney. So yeah,
Yes.
here, when we got down to Will County, there's a few people that kind of makes that decision. So I was in Frankfort, Illinois, but I'm in Will County, so it's those two jurisdictions. So Frankfort PD, after reviewing the video footage and hearing the statement and the video footage of the innocent people that was involved in the shooting with me and myself, they decided they didn't want to press charges. So Frankfort PD immediately was like, we don't want to press any charges on the young man. Will County was like, we reviewed the video footage. We saw exactly what happened. We spoke to the witnesses, and we don't want to press charges neither. So Will County, Frankfurt said, we're good. We don't want to press any charges on him at all. The state is a whole other animal. So I was there for like an additional 5 or 6 hours. My attorney, Dave McDermott, he was there too with me. He came shortly after, but he stepped in and he handled pretty much everything. We were sitting there for a while, about 5 or 6 hours, and waiting on the state to give me that thumbs up or thumbs down. And the state, after reviewing the evidence, they decided as well that they didn't want to press any charges. So I was free to go that same morning around 11 o'clock.
Right. And with it being a pub, and was that pub a 51%? We just want to clarify for the myself. Really, I missed that little piece.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't even know. I'm good friends with the owner now. Like I
Right.
drink for free. Like, but I don't know. I don't even know. To be honest with you, I don't. I don't. I
And
can't. I couldn't even. I couldn't
they
tell you if
didn't
they.
even try to press charges on the. Oh well,
I,
you're in a bar. Make an example
I,
of you.
yeah, I asked them because that was a concern of mine when I was talking to both of the detectives that was in the room with. Like, nah, man. I asked them. I was like, you know, I know I'm potentially about to go to jail because I was carrying this out of a bar. And they just like looked at me, was like, yeah, but if you weren't carrying inside the bar, those 6 people would have probably been dead if you weren't there.
Wow.
So
It's
they,
one of those things where it's like you kind of taking your chances. And here in
yeah,
Texas, we have the 51% as well. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, it kind of makes sense. You got a bunch of people, in Texas, a bunch of rowdy boys on motorcycles, you know, drinking a bunch, and you want to do something to kind of deter them from carrying guns inside of a bar and getting schmammered, just straight
yeah,
up white girl wasted,
yeah,
and going outside and shooting somebody or whatever. But on the other hand, you do have to trust adults to be responsible, you know,
absolutely,
to a point, where they say, you can't drink and drive. They will arrest you for that. Well, they will arrest you if you're, you know, visibly intoxicated, or if they have a
right.
reason to pull you over and then they test you, whatever. Um, it is interesting because I've been in places where it's 51%, and I'm just like, huh, that's interesting. If I were, allegedly, if I were to carry a firearm in here, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
drinking. I'm, I really don't drink like that just because I'm not trying to be at a point where I can't see my sights. You know what I mean? And
You ain't
that
gonna see
is
him.
just, huh?
You're not gonna see him anyways.
So I guess going back to what you were talking about with the actual self defense event, when you punched out, you just were kind of point shooting, or what happened?
You're not gonna see your sights.
You just didn't see
Typically,
him.
let me say this, so I don't stir up any. Anytime I was involved in a shooting, and I've had to shoot people, I've never seen my sights.
Now, do you think
Go
you
to my
just didn't remember seeing them, or were you just at a point where you're like looking over your sights? Like, let's break
I
that down.
I believe it's more of a like when we practice and we train, your sights definitely matter. They're on your gun
Hmm.
for a reason. a lot of that when you're training, it's more of a muscle memory. That's all you're really doing. When I react, like even when my gun was locked, like when I got done firing, I emptied my magazine. When my slide locked back, I felt that. It's the weirdest thing. I felt my slide lock back,
Hmm.
and I
That's
snapped.
interesting. I've never felt my slide lock back.
I, I felt my slide lock back. I snapped my gun back really, really fast. Canted my gun, dropped my magazine as I was walking, reached in my pocket, inserted, tapped, and racked my slide within like a second. Like it was very fast, and I just like as if I was training. It's more of a muscle memory thing. When I pointed my gun, when I actually had my gun, pressed out, it was the exact. When I watched the video, like how I was shooting was exactly how I looked while I was on the range.
That's
Every
interesting.
I did exactly those same things. I used that bar as concealment because it's not covered. I used it as concealment. I was ducking down behind it. I did everything that I would have. I was extreme. Like, I go back and I look at my first shooting and I'm like, well, most people are like, man, dude, you got that guy from like 15, 20 feet away. You hit him in the head, you hit him in the body, you got him. And I was like, yeah, I had 11, 13. I'm it's from 11 to 13 rounds, and I hit him twice. I mean, yeah, he was further, but I looked at it as like that's a bad thing because if you're fighting a skill shooter, actual skill, like a person who actually knows how to use a gun, and you only hit him twice out of 11 rounds, that's not really that good.
Wow.
So I became huge into training after that. And to answer your question, when I locked out, I didn't see my sights. I've never seen my sights in any gunfight I've been in personally. It's more of a muscle memory. I guess you could say movement. I do.
It's interesting because I know for myself there was a training that I was a part of that was more of a live fire sim situation. I'm not going to get into too many details because this is your story.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing a target and having to engage it. And I did what I was supposed to do. I even cleared a malfunction.
Good. Yeah.
And
Naturally.
I don't remember doing most of it. In fact, when I tried to recall, because like immediately after somebody was like, "Hey, what happened? Like, how'd you do when you went in there?" I was like, "I think I shot 3 times. Did I shoot
Nah.
4 times?" Like I couldn't remember really anything that happened. Do you remember? Well, I suppose you had to reload, so I assume you do remember, running dry. But could you have told me how many rounds you fired?
No, no, I knew I had 9 rounds. But even when I fired that first round, like I didn't hear any more gunshots. Like I fired that one round. I didn't hear any more gunshots. Same thing in my first shooting. I had a tunnel vision. It's like like a tunnel.
Yeah,
I was tunnel vision. I heard no gunshots after the first one. I didn't even feel any recoil. I promise.
that's
In
incredible.
both, it was like I was just like locked in. I was
It's
locked
funny
in.
because the shield is a little gun, and people will be like, "Oh, it's a little gun. Get you a bigger gun." But you were able to ride the recoil perfectly to the point where you're hitting all your shots.
Man, dude, like it just felt like natural. Like it just felt. I didn't even, like again. I didn't even feel any recoil, man. Like I was such in a tunnel vision,
Yeah,
laser focus that threat. I didn't see my sights. I was just punched out. I was punched out at the threat. I knew he was close enough to me, and I was just laying down as much as fire as possible and as accurately as possible as I can on him and his and other mass gunmen. So and both I hit each one of them with every single round I fired. The guy he caught the first guy who actually turned towards me the first time.
about
I
how
pointed
far
the gun
away was he? The first guy,
about 10 feet maybe.
10 feet. So within kind of the area where people will be like, "Oh, if you're going to train, you want to train." At least
Yeah,
guys who are serious, not the guys who be like, "Oh, 3 feet," but like 10 feet, about 10,
yeah,
15. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I've trained up to 25 yards in the past, and that's hard to train at with iron sights, but
sure.
it's that's interesting. So with that, we had another question that asked, "Did your ears explode, or did you just kind of like get in the zone and not even feel it?"
I didn't even feel it.
That's
I didn't even
crazy.
hear it. First
Now,
gunshot. I
did you
didn't.
feel it after the fact when your adrenaline came down, or were you just
My,
kind of
my
fine?
heart. Nah, my heart was racing to the moment. Like even when I got out, like they had to call it, like they called the ambulance just to actually, paramedics and stuff. They actually called them just to check me because like my heart was racing. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't think I didn't. It was just it was just it all happened within seconds. It was very fast. The moment I fired that first round,
Yeah.
I heard the shot go off. It was loud. And after that, I didn't hear any more. It was just like my first shooting. I heard that one gunshot, and I didn't hear any more. It's
That's
pretty.
incredible.
But
That's incredible.
and like I just saw, like it was literally a tunnel. It was a tunnel,
Just what
and
was in front of you.
it was just what was in front of me. I can see everything else going on around me. I shoot both my eyes open, but like when that threat was there, my I just wanted to stop the threat. That's all it was. That's all I had in my in my brain at that particular moment.
Got you. Now we're going to take a quick second to just plug something that I'm really passionate about right now. And that is for all the people who are watching me live, and of course for the replay and the podcast side. Just reiterating, my guy Scout, he's a previous guest on the show from one of the earliest episodes, and former Army Ranger and father, good friend of myself. He was actually in a pretty bad motorcycle accident, kind of rough times. Got a motorcycle to get to work, got hit in the leg, broke his leg, had to pull himself out the street, tourniquet on the leg to make sure he didn't bleed out. Got medical attention. Right now he's recovering, but I think it would be amazing if we could help him get to a point where he didn't have to worry about rushing back to work and allowing himself to heal while not being concerned about feeding his son and his family. So if you see the pinned comment, that's his GoFundMe. If you guys do a little bit of research on it, if you're skeptical or anything like that, but definitely, I talked to him the other day. He's in good spirits, but this is a serious, situation where he definitely needs assistance. So if you guys have it within you, if you have a little extra, consider the pinned link, and I think it's in the description of this video. Little open a new tab. Don't leave this video, but open a new tab and just see what's going on and see if you can't help. I would love to see him get to like 50 grand in support. That would definitely set him up for a while. But onto the show. MJ, my guy. So this is a crazy story. You're at a point where you're in the back of a squad car. You've already someone's talked to your mom and let them know like, hey, this happened. The charges are pressed, but charges aren't pressed because they're like, hey, what do we have to charge this guy for? Let's talk about you. Let's talk about emotionally. Where were you emotionally after having killed a man? Is this the second guy you've had to kill?
Yeah. It's just in that particular moment. Well, here I want to talk about something before before I actually get to this the
Yeah, go ahead. Stage is
mental
yours.
health, which is the most important because I know this is going to take some time because this is that's very serious.
Yeah.
I don't want to scan over this because this is really important and this is something that um, I was battling with after the shooting. When I actually after I shot those guys and I went to go to try to retrieve their weapons, I went to pick up their gun. When I came outside, me and my buddy Alex, he was trying to render aid to him. I scanned outside just to make sure there was no more threats. As we seen another guy getting limping away, getting into the getaway car. When he left, I went to pick up the gun that was in the parking lot. And when I picked the gun up, it was a toy. It was a replica gun. It was not even a real gun. So they robbed this bar. Yeah, well, they did rob the bar. They robbed the bar with replica guns, not real firearms.
Wow.
So, to that Texas shooting where that man
Mm-hmm.
walked,
Down in
and he had,
Houston.
it was pretty unfortunate. So right after that, that was something that was also weighing on my mind. Like, hey, these guys, these young dudes that just unfortunately possibly lost their life because I knew I hit the other guy. He fell down down the stairs and he dropped his gun as well. This man is also possibly about to lose his life too if he doesn't get to the hospital in enough time, or even if he does. I don't know the outcome of that, but I know it's a man dead. He was dead probably before he hit the ground, and police get there. We get to the police station, and now these are the things that's going on in my head. Like, this is the mental health, and this is the biggest battle we deal with. When we're involved in a self defense shooting, is the mental health part. It's the
Yeah.
aftermath. Uh, it's the mental part. And for me, I've always been a very mentally strong person. I did question myself. I was like, well, Mike, why you? Why you again? Why was you involved in now two shootings? Typically it's like hitting a lottery. It doesn't really happen for everybody, but you again. I was thinking maybe is there something I'm possibly doing wrong? I thought to myself, I was like, I left Chicago just so I can be in a safer area. This is Frankfort, Illinois. It's a very nice, uppity area, very, very quiet. This is a bar that, not a lot of people come to. Is it just, do I got just bad luck? What's going on? And, my mom reminded me, she was like, and out of all people, because she definitely doesn't want me to be in situations like that. But she reminded me, she was like, Michael, you say why you, but why not you? Why not you? And I was like, yeah, why not me? I prepare myself for situations like this, and there's a lot of people. That woman who got her gun taken from her inside that bar had an opportunity to go for her gun, but she, I spoke with her after. She said that she just couldn't, and her gun was, is still with the police department currently right now because she's just afraid to go get it because she doesn't want to be around a gun because she just doesn't
Wow.
feel like, being in a situation like that and witnessing what I've done. She said that she just does not feel like there's any way for her to do what I did. And she's like, you are just a different human being, Michael. And we are just different human beings. And people who are capable of taking life and reacting in moments like this, we're not like again, not superhuman, but we are different human beings, and we come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors and religion. It's not about being black. It's not about being white. It's not being, about being Muslim, about being Christian, about being Jewish. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's just in you or it's not.
That's
You can train.
incredible.
You can train to be a killer, but you either are or you're not. Male, female, it does not make a difference. You either have it in you or you don't, to respond in situations like that. And in that situation, I am a person who is well capable of responding and, in situations like this and, serious, shootings. So why not me?
Yeah.
You know,
Why
my
not you? That's a crazy, crazy question. Now, I do have to ask, and maybe this is one of those questions that I'll get in trouble for, but
no.
the prosecutors, or at least the ones that we have in our mind, and some that have existed in reality, generally will say like, those who really want to get you be like, all right, well, Michael, seems like since you were 19 years old, you wanted to be around guns, and were you fulfilling some sort of fantasy? Are you, this is your second time getting into a shooting, Michael? Were you just looking for your opportunity to kill somebody? Like people will ask those questions. Even people maybe watching the show right now, depending on their leanings. What would you say to something like that?
Well, they're false. In my first shooting, I was walking with my 5-year-old son, who is looking for a fight walking with your 5-year-old son. Um, I became a USCCA official partner, and I spoke in many events and been on their magazines and things like that. It was a clear self-defense shooting, and I responded like any parent would. And the response I got from the community, the 2A community in the world, was all, I mean, 95% of them were all positive. But just like with anything you do, you're going to have those negative comments. You're going to have those negative people or those anti-gun or whatever you want to call them, people, giving their 2 cents on something they don't even really understand. You would never understand a situation like that unless you've been in there. And so it's very easy for me. I know I can't expect for people like that to understand what I go through, what I have done, or what I will do, because they've never done it and they're not me. So um, the first shooting, clear self defense. This shooting, clear self defense. There's video footage. These guys came in like off of a movie, ski mask, all black latex gloves with guns. You know, and regardless if they're a replica gun or not, it doesn't. I don't live. I don't that doesn't sit on my heart too much,
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, I didn't know.
Yeah.
These guns were patented and owned by Walther. Glock owns a replica gun too, so these guns they said Walther on them. They slot lock back. They were replica guns, not toys. So,
Yeah.
well, it's a toy, but I mean, it's a replica gun. It looks exactly like a Walther. It says it on there too. So I just see it's dark. These they have guns pointed at us, and they're using them, um, to strong arm rob us. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really make a difference, in that particular moment. I know what I did. God knows what I did, and I don't take back, nothing I've ever done. I will gladly, when day comes, and I can speak on, or let's say, I answer for every shot I ever took in my life, easy. And I
Hmm.
know in my heart I did was what I had to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't regret anything. Never.
That's good because, obviously you said 95% of the people who you have interacted with have been positive about the situation.
Yeah.
And clearly
Yes.
there's a 5% out there who either thinks that one or the other thing went wrong and you shouldn't have been there, or you should have did this or that, and there's always a you shouldas, right?
Hmm.
Now, considering the people who were killed, who put themselves in the situation to be killed, do you ever think about them and their families, and did they try to civilly sue you for what happened, or is that kind of the end of it?
No, by the grace of God, in neither situation, any person I've had to kill in my life, they never sued me. I've never, at least, now. I mean, I haven't heard anything. My attorney hasn't heard anything. I'm really close to my attorney. He's like my stepfather-in-law now. So,
Yeah.
so, you know, it's, it, I haven't heard anything,
Yeah.
about it. So
Well,
very
that's good.
grateful for that.
Well, I know USCCA supposedly has some sort of settlement policy where, somebody tries to take you, they'll take care of it. But clearly, you
Hmm.
probably would have heard about it because they're not just going to settle things that don't exist. So that's good. We do have a few more questions, but I just wanted to make sure was there anything else that you wanted to share? 'Cause, I know there was other events that happened, but was there anything that we missed before we go into the Q&A section?
No, man. I think you touched on a lot of topics. So I appreciate that. I mean, it's doing a great job. I want to get to some of these comments because at least, I mean, they got a lot of good questions in here. So
Yeah.
I,
So
I
let's
want
let's
to,
go ahead and do that. Now for those who are listening on the podcast side, we're gonna go ahead and end the podcast show here, and we're gonna allow the stream to continue on, and where you and I are gonna answer questions. So those who are in the live stream right now, don't go anywhere. I'm rolling the outro for the podcast, guys. If y'all want to come over and watch the end of this, cool. And for the podcast, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Keep it costly. All right. All right, all right, all right. I think we're back. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with me. We are going into the Q&A section where you guys get to ask Mychael whatever you want to ask him. I see there's a few of you in here right now. There are a bunch of questions coming through and a few really, really good ones. So let's go ahead and I'm kind of going through seeing. Did the police give you a breathalyzer when you were at the bar? Did they try to breathalyze you?
never did. The police were, man. When I say huge shout out to Frankfurt PD, I know some of those officers on that force. I sold guns to them. Will County, shout out to them too. I sold guns to some of those officers. They never breathalyzed me at all.
Do you feel like they gave you a little bit of privilege, having had a previous relationship, or was this post shooting relationship?
The Frankfurt was previous, but the Will County was kind of afterwards. After they found out that I was a firearms instructor and dealer, some of those officers actually did business with me. So Will County, they had no, and those were ones that actually handled the situation mostly. Um, but no, man, they never breathalyzed me at all. So, um, which is good. I mean, even if they did, I would have passed. I wasn't drinking, so it was fine.
All right, all right.
I
And for
probably wouldn't have.
those,
Yeah, they would have said, my attorney would have probably said no.
right. For those who are
No.
just hopping in, thank you so much for this is the conversation, Constant Conversations with Armed Atlas, or my name is Aaron. You can find me everywhere at Armed Atlas, and this is Mychael MJS Firearms. And how can people find you, by the way, just in case they're super interested?
MJ's Firearms on Instagram, MJ's Firearms 33, or you just type Mychael with a Y, MyChal Waller, Waller Senior. On Instagram, Facebook is MJ's Firearms LLC. Facebook is Facebook. My personal is just Mychael Waller. Website mjsfirearms.com. Protect One, also my range in Tennessee. That's just Protect One .elite on Instagram and Protect One on Facebook as well.
Yeah, I guess next time you come on, we ought to talk a little bit more about how you got into the range game and owning your own store, because that's a crazy story in itself. Well, I don't know if the story itself is crazy, but just see the concept of a young dude
Yeah,
like you, not 30 years old, owns your own gun store. Oh, and you happen to be black, which normally wouldn't be a big deal. You know, you could own whatever you want, but the demographics don't exactly match up with the two-way space,
yeah.
because just we're so new to this thing. So shout out to you. We're happy.
Appreciate.
Did the police ask you any questions? What are some of the questions that the police or the DA asked?
Well, pretty straightforward questions, man. Depending on the situation, police are going to deal with you differently. You guys, we all got to remember they're just human. At the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, they take those badges off. They when they reviewed, they looked at the video footage. They were really cool with me. They didn't. A lot of the questions they asked me, they told me like, man, these are gonna be straightforward questions. Like, hey, were you in fear for your life? At what opportunity? At what point did you actually, point your gun and fire at him? Things like that. Were you actually drinking? Things like that. And at that particular moment, I had my attorney, Dave McDermott. I had him there, so there was only certain questions that he would probably even allow me to ask anyway. So
Yeah.
it's different when you have someone representing you. It's not necessarily.
That's something that's I wonder for all the good people out there who have been in self defense situations who are sitting in jail right now for like murder or something crazy, who if they only could afford an attorney, would they be all right? You know,
Oh Jesus, man, it would
like
make a
the amount of
world of.
stupid questions or the amount of railroading or even things that shouldn't be admissible being just put in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It'll make a world of difference, man. I tell people like, regardless, like, a police officer's job or DA, all of just law enforcement, their job is to look for infractions, and that's just their job. Regardless if they like you or dislike you, it doesn't really make a difference. The job is to look for infractions and possibly get you in jail. Excuse me, if you did something wrong. So, I do not recommend actually talking to law enforcement. Get an attorney there if you don't have USCCA, and again, any insurance you have, I don't really care. But have an attorney represent you.
yeah.
Have an attorney.
Now, just so nobody comes back and says anything, we are not lawyers. This is not legal advice. He's just telling a story for entertainment purposes, more or less. But sharing his story. Hopefully, somebody can gain something positive from it. That said, I have in the past heard that like, hey, you want to comply a little bit. Say like, hey, I was in fear for my life. I had to defend myself. Somebody shot. I will happily speak to you. I just need to consult my attorney first,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. Have you dealt with anything similar? Have you heard that? Is that how it played out for you, or what exactly happened when you were talking about that?
Will County Sheriff's Department.
Yes. Did they
Yeah.
like how? What was that first conversation like when they showed up? Like, what did you tell them?
Initially, when they showed up, I did the same thing I'm trained to do, even with after taking your concealed carry course. If you take a concealed carry course with a good instructor, they'll advise you. You should just only certain things you really should say. I said initially when they arrived on the scene, I cleared my gun, and I told them like, "Hey, I am, the man who was involved in the shooting. My name is Mychael Waller. I keep my hands where they can see them, and I just tell them like, hey, I was in fear for my life. I am the man that was involved in the shooting, and I just complied with law enforcement and allow them to take me into custody until my attorney can represent me. I was even when you're on phone with 911 because we did call 911 when the bad guys were on the ground. Say very little information to them because that's a recorded line as well. So try not to talk so much. Just give them the details on the location so they can actually get there and assist whoever's in need. And then just wait for your attorney. Give them very little information. Just provide them with your name. Let them know what happened as far as you're involved in the shooting. Use specific words too. Don't say I shot this dude. Da, da, da. Just say I was in fear for my life. I am the person who was involved in the shooting. Keep your hands where they can see them, and allow law enforcement to do their job until because you can't do anything at that moment. There's nothing you can really
Right.
do. Your fight's going to be in the courtroom or whatever, wherever else. It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be. So allow law enforcement to do their job. Let them, they're going to take you into custody. Everybody's going to get, going to go to jail. If that's for 5 hours, 2 hours, just, or let's not even jail. Let's say everybody's going to be detained
Yeah.
until the investigation is over or until they come to a conclusion whether they want to charge you or not. Again, I'm not an attorney. I'm just telling you, that's my opinion. That's what I would have done. And I've done those in both situations. And by the grace of God, I'm still here. So
It worked out for you.
worked out.
Now, so man, before we hit C's question, because this is, I feel like a pretty good question. I heard a 911 call one time. We were studying it in a class, and the guy was going on about how he sees somebody robbing a home, like he was supposed to be house sitting his neighbor's home, and he sees somebody in the home and they're stealing stuff and they're not going to get away with it. Aren't you tired of people getting away with this? And I'm going to go out there and shoot him. I don't want to shoot him. I'm going to shoot him. And feeding the 911 operator really somewhat incriminating evidence, but because of how the law is written, he kind of got away with it. But truthfully, he set himself up to fail. And somehow, by the grace of God, he got away.
Mhm.
I don't know if we should blame God for that one, but it was one of those things. So, her question, and I thought this was a good question, was the review of the video. Was the review of the video what made the non-chargeable situation? So pretty much, when they reviewed the video, do they say, "Oh, okay, we see exactly what happened, no charge," or was there a different thing that kind of led to them saying like, "Oh, well, okay, you're good"? Like,
I get a question. When they reviewed the video, they saw it was clear. It was clear as day. This is kind of how they range it. Like the video footage is definitely going to be huge,
mm-hmm,
but um, they had eyewitnesses there as well. They bring us in as like they did Will County. They brought us in all for questioning. We all are separated, every single one of us. All of our stories when they question when the detectives and when they actually interview us,
yeah,
all of our stories have to kind of match,
yeah, you're
and
not adding things or leaving big things out.
they matched our stories, which all did match.
Yeah,
We all thing to the video footage, and when they use the video footage and they look at our stories and what we're saying, it matched what we were what actually happened because it's the truth. And the bad guy, well, the other one, he's dead, so he can't say anything. But the other guy is on a run, so he is not saying anything as well because he's not even in custody. So they only had that one story for the longest period, for the longest time. So
yeah.
um, they it's the video footage, and the statement from eyewitnesses that were actually on the scene, including myself.
So thank you for clarifying that for the questionnaire. Did you get your firearms back? And I think you said yes, but how long did it take you to get your Smith and Wesson shield back?
Absolutely not. And also, I did not get my gun back. When I went back to get my car when they released all of us out of Will County Sheriff's Department, one of the officers, I was walking in the back towards my car, and he looked at me. He was like, "Hey man, good shooting." He was like, "Are you a firearm instructor? What's going on?" Because he saw the shots on the target. I mean, on the
Mm-hmm.
bad guy.
He's,
He was uh,
sorry.
he was like, "Hey, yeah, good shooting, man. Good shooting." He just gave me a little fist bump, and he was like, you know, you're not getting your gun back, right? I just laughed. I was like, yeah, I know. Y'all can have it. I just walked off. It's kind of
Dang.
how I went.
Like, is
I
there
can
some
get it
sort
back.
of policy, or you can get it back? You just never really.
I can go through all that just to get that M&P shield back. That gun was worth, like, I'm a dealer, so I think it cost me like $200-300. Would I like to
Right.
have it back? But it's okay. I don't want to go through the hassle just to get the gun back. To be honest with you.
Yeah. I wonder if there's maybe some weird memories attached to the gun that might be kind of. Would you feel comfortable carrying it again, or would you say, well, hey, it served me the first time. Clearly, it's good. Like, what's your mentality with that?
I don't know if I will ever carry it again. I will probably just, like, I don't know, frame it and put it up in the safe or something. I don't know. I said frame it. I probably shouldn't have said that.
No, I
But
mean that does sound a little weird. Like,
yeah,
don't say that. But
yeah, no, I'll probably just put it in the safe. I don't know. I probably wouldn't. I probably
yeah,
wouldn't carry it.
yeah. I mean, it served its
It's
purpose.
that day lives with me for the rest of my life. So I always
Mhm.
remember that, and I always remember every single situation I've been in. I always remember that gun in my hand.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
So here's a great question. For myself, big advocate for mental health and taking care of that. We just spoke last episode. For those who are tuning in, if you haven't seen the last live stream / podcast episode, it's on all major podcast platforms. Um, with the guys from Walk the Talk America Guns and Mental Health podcast. They have their own podcast. They came on and shared some thoughts. The Oh, you see, you got it right there. I love that. Um, they share a lot about protecting your mental health and doing certain things to really make sure that you are okay, especially if you've ever been through something, if you're going through something, and you don't necessarily even have to go through something to have ideations of self harm. Like, that's
hmm
just the reality of the situation. And so, hopefully people really understand after kind of spending time with this content that if you're going through something, come on, like, there's help out there. Let's get that help. You're not weak. You're not broken. Those aren't the situations. Everyone needs help sometimes. So her question was, did he get counseling after this incident or even after the first incident?
definitely so. After my first incident, I seek Christian counseling, and I still do counseling still to this day. Not just for the shooting, for anything. Mental health is real. Huge shout out to Walk Talk America, Mike Sedini, and those guys. Great, organization there. Help support, guns and mental health and all that good jazz, which is very, very important. So I seek counseling, Christian counseling, immediately after my first shooting, and I'm still, seeing the same counselor still to this day. So it's really good,
Yeah,
really, really good. USCCA also has resources for that as well, too. So
that's awesome. Yeah, we're actually, for those who are still with us, we're actually partnering like a three-way partnership with a little bit of UCCA, but also the local range. We're doing something called the Tyler Range Day. For those who are curious about what we're doing with all the resources and cool stuff that we do, Tyler Range Day, we're putting on this event to ensure that people who are first time gun owners, or not even first time gun owners, people who have maybe never shot a gun before, we're giving them an opportunity to come to a class, get some basic introductory lessons, and to go onto the range, pick a gun to try. If you want to try a few, you can get some ammo, put shots on a target, see how you like it. And of course, there's opportunities for other classes and such, but we want to give an opportunity that's super low cost because here it costs like $100 to go to the range with all the fixings. So we're trying to do it for like $30 or less and ensure that people have an opportunity. Really cool. I was able to partner with Hornady, and they're sending out some lock boxes and some ammo. All that stuff is sick. And I'm thankful for all the different people who are sending stuff over so that we can have something to give back to the people. And so, for all of you who have given, House of Siege, she's in here. She actually gave last year. Thank you for that, by the way. And for all the people who have given and joined me and supported me and watched the show and hit like and share, this is the kind of stuff that happens because I exist in this space and people trust me to come on and like do cool stuff. So thank you guys. Back to what we're talking about here, Michael. Let's go ahead and answer. Did you get counseling? That's John here. Did we already answer that? What were some of the questions the police asked? I think we already answered that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And do you know any other self-defense or martial arts, or is it just firearms?
No, mostly firearms. I was a boxer growing up too, so I'm really good with using my hands. So I did boxing growing up, but no martial arts really. I did a little bit of taekwondo, but mostly boxing. So and a lot of obviously firearms training.
A lot of firearms training. That's
Yep.
interesting. I know you said when your first self-defense incident, you um, and guys, if you have any more questions, go ahead and just type Q colon punch out a question because we're about to wrap up. We want to make sure we can get your question before we close. I you see it during your first situation. Um, I lost my thought. Oh my gosh, just like that.
And your first, you said during your first situation, um, something.
Yeah,
You
I don't know.
okay.
Where were we before that? I don't even. um, Jay just typed this in here. And I'm trying to see what the. You said put it in the trust for your kids to understand the importance of firearms. I think he's talking about the weapon that you had to use to defend yourself in that second incident. Um, then I guess if you get it back, you can put it in a trust and pass it
Sure.
on. And I don't know if it has some super strong significance to you to that point, but that
Yeah.
is that is interesting.
It,
I think
it,
that's
it's. I mean, never thought about that, but
and they'll have it for a while, I assume. I mean, how long do they hold evidence before they get rid of it? Forever?
I'm not really sure. But
Who knows?
I mean, that's a good point, though. I mean, I'll probably ask my attorney tomorrow. I'll probably ask him. I got to see him anyways. So
Yeah.
I'll probably ask.
All right. Well, I think we're kind of getting to the end of this. Did you have anything that you were just dying to share with the people?
No, man. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Shout out to everybody who came in the comments, asked me questions. This really helps me. This is like a kind of exercise for me. I like talking about it. Some things sometimes when I get me personally when I don't speak on topics like this, then it becomes an issue. So this is like therapy for me. So thank all
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah, and thank you
Well,
guys for tuning in. This is really awesome that we were able to support Michael. Go ahead, Michael. I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
no, you good, man. Thank you guys. We're saying the same thing, man. Thank you to everybody who decide to come join the podcast and all that. So
All
appreciate you
right.
guys.
Yes, sir. I'll go ahead and let you talk about your socials one more time. Let people know where they can find you, how to support you, what they can do to patronize you, and whatnot.
Yeah.
Your
So
businesses.
on Instagram, MJ's Firearms 33. Protect One is my range out in Tennessee. Protect One Elite on Instagram as well. MJ's Firearms LLC on Facebook, and mjsfirearms.com as far as the website. So if you guys need any firearms, ammunition, all that good jazz, take care of you. Training too. So
All right. And thank you so much for that. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys have been awesome with the great questions, and of course your viewership. Do me a favor, if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit subscribe and share it out with the group chat. I mean, that's really the best way because YouTube is kind of funny with the way that they share this stuff out. So just drop it in the group chat. Let them know we're having cool discussions. And thank you. Bunch of links down below. But until next time, keep it costly.